I'm interested in hearing the story behind your record label because you mentioned that Purple Cow Records. What prompted you to launch this, and why not at that time just hop on an existing label? Why start your own?
Well, the first one is kind of a mean answer to myself, but the truth was that there was all I couldn't be in Frank Zappa's band because Frank had died. And so many of his band members got into the band when they were 19. And I was like, if I don't do something with my life before I'm 20 years old, then I'm going to be a loser forever. And I mean, it's not a great internal monologue, I know. But I had it in my head. It was like a B. You know what I mean? Like, I got to do it. I got to make it right now. So there was no record label who wanted to sign somebody who was only writing predominantly instrumental music. So I decided when I was younger I wanted to make the world's first internet mini mall. So I made this mini mall called the Mad Fat PHAT Internet Mini Mall, and then I sold movie posters from it. So my dad had a client who had a lot of extra movie posters, so we put them all up for sale, and then I used that to raise the money to fund my record label. So then we made the first album, Oppie Music Volume 1, and, the song "Ain't Got No Beef" got some radio play, which was fun, like, local radio play, not like big time.
Yeah.
But what's interesting was I got emails that every time someone I feel like every time someone goes to a fast food restaurant and doesn't get what they ordered, they email me about it. Just, like, really funny, like, 25 years later, you get an email, like, "I went to Wendy's, they had no beef, it was crazy." You know?
It's awesome.
But, when you make songs or you make music, you don't know what happens that goes out there, they kinda, like, have their own lives, and
Yeah. So the record label, is it only for your music, or do you publish other musicians' music through your record label? Tell me a little bit about how that operates.
I mean, traditionally, it's only been my own music. There were a couple people where I was interested in what they were doing, but either they couldn't really replicate it or it just didn't, work right. But if I saw a project that I was interested in, I would buy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. How has that changed? How has Purple Cow Records changed over the years?
Well, it was largely defunct when I was in a PhD program because most of it was. I mean, it's harder and harder for young musicians, I think, because my bands in LA, what I would do is I would perform the show and then sell merch,
Right.
and the merch was CDs. And I would take the money from CD sales and pay the band that money. But now I can't play a show where I sell CDs, so I don't know how I pay the band. That's kind of rough. But I mean, people do complain about how the music industry has shifted toward a single basis, or they're trying to get singles, or the cheap production stuff. But we've also, as a society, created infrastructure financially where that is like really the only option. Like, if I only get $1,000 for 1 million streams, there really is like a limit to how much I can spend on a track and reasonably
Yeah.
expect to make money back. Oh, I want to finish. So the label came back. We did the Kickstarter, so I'm having this conversation with Kurt Morgan, who is in Dweezil Zappa's band. I know we didn't talk about this, but I toured with Project Object, and I've gotten to perform with members, original Mothers of Invention. I think I performed at least one person from all of Frank Zappa's bands except the Hot Rats band. We're only missing one, and I've gotten so much encouragement from that fan base and from those musicians that I grew up worshiping, and that's really close to my heart. So I was talking to Kurt Morgan, and I was thinking about at that time I was thinking about applying for tenure track positions, but I felt like it would be weird to go to an interview and be like, "Here's my last album from 2010," and
Mm.
have no professionally recorded material since then. It was like a big hole. And it also felt like it would be financially impossible to hire musicians and, you know, the rock musicians, the things I got out of the rock musicians in LA were like amazing. Like, I really could push them, but I couldn't push classical musicians in the same way without them getting upset with me, like, and like really upset with me, like this is impossible. You can't ask this of me, and that kind of friction is like not fun to be a part of. And also, it made me feel like resentful towards them because I'd be like, "What do you mean you just have to practice?" You know. So to save everybody's sanity, we decided we would make Well, the first plan was to use Note Performer and make Note Performer recordings of everything, and then Kurt got more ambitious, and we got these high-end samples, and we really did it. Like, Kurt did such a great job on that album, Chambers from Hell I'm talking about. He did such a great job. But when we were talking about it, it was like, okay, we're gonna put all this energy in, and then we're gonna upload it to Spotify, and we're gonna make back like $23, and it's gonna be a terrible investment. So that was when I decided to try doing the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And I feel like that really it did kickstart the label back. It brought it back to life. And I mean, just my heart, and it's like we put the album out in 2020 in the midst of the pandemic, and we barely finished it in time for my wife to give birth to my son Dale. And then just to like fill, I mean, we filled an entire mail truck full of orders. It was crazy because we did get a lot of orders after the Kickstarter, and it was just like, wow, like I left the marketplace for that long, and I came back, and I felt like the album was supported by the marketplace, and that like made me very happy inside.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Micromaker by Loose Leaf Transmissions. We hope you enjoyed this brief glimpse into the inner workings of the creative life. If this resonated with you, be sure to check out the full conversation on Music Maker with Tyler Kline, a podcast exploring craft and process, philosophy and inspiration, and the honest, often messy parts of being an artist, creative uncertainty, purpose and identity, and resilience. You can find Music Maker wherever you get your podcasts or by visiting musicmakerpodcast.com.